Alright, we finally got some brand new Assassin's Creed Shadows gameplay, and this time it's all about the tech behind the upgraded Anvil engine. But first, question of the day. Are you hyped for AC Shadows? Or are you kinda over the whole franchise? Let me know down there. I'm still kinda hyped for the game. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. First up, the updated geometry is looking pretty damn impressive. What Ubisoft did was build more independent segments for things like doors, fences, jars, and other decorations, which means they break more realistically. For example, playing as Yasuke, you can use your kick, which is part of a regular attack combo, to knock over a fish rack and watch all the pieces fall individually. You can even destroy market parasols. I'm curious if there'll be a wanted system like in Mirage or Odyssey, where if you start smashing up property, roaming bosses will come to hunt you down. I sure hope so, but either way, it looks pretty sick. You can also use this destructibility to create openings in houses, or use a shoulder bash to go through these SOI doors. Naoe can also use this system. Slashing with her sword feels very realistic. It can even destroy some plants, but the real fun comes when using the Arigama in a bamboo forest. That's gonna be super satisfying. Another cool thing in Assassin's Creed Shadows is the new wind system that makes trees move very realistically, just like the grass. This even affects the water streams and rivers. You'll see leaves flying by. They also have this new thing called Edmos that simulates clouds dynamically, meaning rain and snowfall can be fully simulated rather than pre-programmed. In previous games like Valhalla and Odyssey, you'd have regions where it would always snow, but in Shadows, snow can exist anywhere in the world if it makes sense for the current season. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's kinda nuts that we're still looking at tech demos for a game that's dropping in 2 months. I get it. I just want to see all this tech come together in the actual gameplay, but it's still promising. And we also learned at Gamescom that this tech will be used in all the upcoming mainline Assassin's Creed games. Yep, all the features they've been cooking up for Shadows will be in Hexy and the big games after that, which is awesome news. Also, the rain effects, like how the rain falls off buildings up close, look really impressive. And just so you know, all this gameplay you're seeing is on PS5, not the PS5 Pro. Speaking of which, Assassin's Creed Shadows will be the first new game to support PS5 Pro at launch, so I'm expecting a sweet combo of 60 FPS and killer graphics. We've now learned that guards might get sleepy after standing in the sun all day, which means they're less alert, perfect for sneaking past them. Heavy snowfall can also block guards' vision, and rain will make your footsteps less noticeable. But the dynamic lighting will be the real game changer. I loved the recent gameplay where we saw Naoe stay out of the light from a window to avoid getting spotted by enemies. We're gonna have to think about our surroundings in completely new ways. That said, these sneaky tactics won't work with Yasuke. In the new gameplay, we saw him try a leap of faith, and yeah, that didn't go so well. But I like this approach. Add some humor instead of removing the feature altogether, because that would mess with the gameplay too much. In a new blog post, Ubisoft mentioned that Yusuke is still stealth-capable, able to sneak, assassinate, and silently kill with his bow. And silently is the key here, because his assassinations won't be quiet at all. Yasuke is an honorable samurai, so when he crouches toward an enemy with their back turned, he yells for them to turn around before assassinating them. And that shout will definitely alert everyone nearby. Still, a full stealth run might be possible if you stick to using only the bow, which is interesting. I've got some extra info on what Yusuke can do that Naoe can't, because overall, Naoe seems like the more versatile character, with access to eagle vision to spot enemies through walls. While Naoe doesn't have a bow or rifle, she's got the classic assassin tools. Ubisoft confirmed that bells can be used to attract guards. It's likely similar to the noisemakers we had in Mirage. You throw it, and enemies come to investigate. You'd think we'd still have the whistle to attract enemies to our location, but there's another way to distract them. Ubisoft confirmed on Twitter that we can call in our shinobi recruits for support in combat, striking together. The leaked image shows some interesting things. For one, it looks like the system is similar to the feature introduced in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, where you can call in other assassins to help you at any time. But in Shadows, it's more like a mix of call to arms from Odyssey and the Jomsviking feature from Valhalla. If you zoom in on the shinobi in the image, she's wearing gear that looks like something Naoe could wear too. She even has a cool red rifle on her back, while as the player, we can only use a rifle with Yasuke. But it seems like, similar to the Jomsvikings in Valhalla, we can equip recruits with items found in the world, and we might even see some crossover between exclusive Yusuke and Naoe items. That's just my read from looking at this image. But it'd be awesome if, like in Odyssey, we could recruit characters through side missions. I'm also curious if we can once again get characters made by other players. It was a cool idea in Valhalla that didn't really go anywhere. But if in Shadows you can summon a friend's in the world with a call to arms, that could be a lot of fun. There's also a good chance Yusuke can call these recruits to help him out. But something else Ubisoft showed that I got more info on is the posture system. We see him do a charged heavy attack, followed by a regular light attack, and then a regular heavy attack. This move is needed to strip the enemy of their armor. I've learned you can now charge a light attack too, and then do a combo. We don't have footage of this yet, but some enemies can break you out of the charge, meaning they can react to your posture attack and stop you from breaking their armor. One advantage Yusuke has over Nawe is that he can charge every attack while Nawe can only charge the first attack.
Did your father ever tell you why my bones ache in the weather?
They talk of peace and dream of war.
As always for an Assassin's Creed game, we try to pick a setting that is a pivotal moment in history that can also allow plenty of gameplay opportunity, explains Stephanie Ann Ruata, world director and historian at Ubisoft Quebec. For Shadows, that pivotal moment is 16th century Japan, specifically the Azuchi Momoyama period, an era of transition between the Civil War-stricken Sengoku period and the peaceful Edo period. It would be the last time that samurai would fight a major battle and the last time that they would have a strictly military role, Ruata adds. With the samurai an active fighting force during the era, it's unsurprising to discover that you'll be playing as one. What is surprising, though, is this samurai's heritage. In a first for Assassin's Creed, Shadows will allow you to play as a real historical figure. If you know your Japanese history, you may be familiar with Yasuke, the legendary African samurai. Likely born in Mozambique, he was brought to Japan in 1579 by a Jesuit missionary and went on to serve the mighty daimyo, Oda Nobunaga. Yasuke is somebody who is going to tie together many of the most powerful figures in our era, says Associate Narrative Director Brooke Davies. He really is a great point of entry to this as well, with Oda Nobunaga on one side and on the other side the Portuguese that he arrives with. He really does a lovely job of connecting the dots historically, what we know factually, and then narratively. We had so much fun imagining the kind of person who would have this trajectory. Through Yasuke's foreigner eyes, Shadows will explore a tale of honor, justice, and belonging. But his isn't the only story you'll experience. Replicating the format of 2015's Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Shadows will feature two unique protagonists played in tandem. Starring beside Yasuke is Naoe, a swift and agile shinobi whose talents more closely align with Assassin's Creed's traditional hero archetype. The fictional daughter of real historical figure Fujibayashi Nagato, Naoe is a very different character to Yasuke. Where he is a bold fighter, she's the hidden blade in the shadows. It's through her that Ubisoft are seemingly rediscovering the series' stealth roots in a manner that surpasses even last year's Assassin's Creed Mirage. The thing that shines the most, I feel, in Assassin's Creed, it's really the hidden blade, the assassination, being able to stay hidden, says game director Charles Benoit. So that's the core that we want to keep. What we needed to push forward was to make it feel a bit more modern in the approach. That needed modernity has been found in a fully dynamic lighting system in which the radiance from sunlight, torches, and lanterns can illuminate both the land and you. Escape into the shadows, though, and you're invisible. And if you can't escape the light, you can snuff it out. Lamps, or their carriers, can be eliminated to create pools of darkness. If, like me, you were raised on Splinter Cell, this is all very enticing. Parkour has always been something that's pretty iconic and pretty core to the stealth experience because they go hand in hand, adds Jonathan Dumont, Assassin's Creed Shadows creative director. To enhance the parkour, the team has given Naoe a grappling hook. It's all physics-based, so there's a little bit of improbability sometimes when using it, he says. There's a danger to using it, but you could also perform assassinations from it. These shinobi skills make Naoe the ideal choice for players who want to get back to an Assassin's Creed that's actually about assassins. But the sneaking systems also pull on other aspects of the stealth genre that Creed has typically ignored. For instance, enemies can now be knocked out, unlocking the option for a more pacifist playthrough. Of course, the RPG era of Assassin's Creed has demanded a robust combat experience too, and that's where Ubisoft plans to let Yasuke shine. We want the combat to feel spectacular, so we've pushed quite a bit on having a lot of the objects destroyable or sliceable, explains Dumont. The upgraded Anvil engine upon which Assassin's Creed Shadows is built can now realistically replicate the damage caused by every type of weapon, from accurate sword slices to perfect arrow puncture marks. Think Fruit Ninja, but with, well, almost every prop that's in Shadows' world. Of course, the real samurai fantasy comes alive in Kurosawa-like duels. While Ubisoft Quebec isn't using the legendary director director's filmography as a direct influence, they still want that level of tension. When we have a mini-boss type of fighter, we really want it to feel like a duel, says Benoit. So this exchange of blocking, parrying, dodging, so it's always like a dance. For the most part, stealth or combat will be your choice. Each character has a number of personal quests in which they are compulsory to play as, but beyond that, you can freely choose who you control. This goes as far as being able to switch characters between objectives. That's the beauty, says producer Carl O'Neill, because during a quest, there are several steps and you're going to go from one place to another. You want to have this autonomy and agency to choose how you want to play the setup, but there's a much greater system at play. Seasons. The open world progresses through spring, summer, autumn, and winter, with each new period bringing its own weather conditions and terrain shifts. While this helps lend a sense of realism to the land, dynamic winds will procedurally blow swirls of pollen in the spring and pull leaves from branches in the fall. Each season can have a dramatic impact on gameplay. We've really been pushing about making sure that gameplay and art are not separate, but they're intertwining, explains One. He offers an example of how, in summer, you can use the new prone stance to crawl into a pond and hide beneath the surface of the water. But in the winter, that pond will be frozen over. You create new and you remove at the same time different ways and routes of infiltration, he says. As spring blooms, grass grows tall enough to hide in. Bushes become leafy, perfect to crouch behind. But as the months go by, the approaching winter kills off these natural hiding spots. Hanging icicles threaten to snap and fall, revealing your rooftop position. But at the same time, the worsening weather limits the view of enemies. Howling winds obscure your footsteps. Guard patrols stick to areas of warmth, allowing you to take new, colder paths. Players will have to adapt constantly to what the environment is giving them, says Dumont. Seasons will change based on your progress through the campaign, which art director Thierry Dansereau tells me is to ensure the world stays authentic as possible to match historical events. In terms of area, the region is similar in size to Assassin's Creed Origins' Egyptian map, although based on a more realistic scale ratio, because castles took a lot of space, and we really wanted the mountains to feel like mountains. We've made the environments feel wider in the game, reveals Dumont. Those castles, all prominent historical landmarks, are set to be Shadow's centerpiece dungeons. The way they were built, it's a level designed by itself, enthuses Benoit. It's so big, it's like an adventure each time you go in the castle. Despite all the drama and controversies surrounding the franchise, I think this game has the potential to be a massive hit. The sheer scale, the lore, and the gameplay innovations keep the excitement alive, no matter what the naysayers claim. Apparently, the Japanese government is investigating Ubisoft because of historical accuracy. Is the government drunk? But what really pisses me off is that the Greek government didn't investigate Ubisoft for all the historical inaccuracies in AC Odyssey. Did you know that Alexios was not a real historical figure? And what about the Minotaur, Medusa, and the Cyclops? Is that not historically accurate? Listen, I could go on and on. Connor helping George Washington win the Civil War in Assassin's Creed 3, a Native American commanding an army, a black man owning a large mansion in that time period. Why didn't the US government sue Ubisoft for those historical inaccuracies? Next, I'm reading that Ubisoft is being investigated for inaccurate weather systems in the game. Man, I hope they put pink snow in the game. In AC Valhalla, you have these areas Eivor finds that are cursed, and there is a weird fog around, and you need to destroy something to lift the curse. That's historically inaccurate. Environmentalists and historians should go after Ubisoft for that. And why didn't the Japanese government go after the devs of Rise of the Ronin for historical inaccuracies? By the way, full disclosure, the government is not investigating Ubisoft. It's all made up. Let's talk about price tiers. Why is Ubisoft doing that? What's up with all the extras? Die-hard AC fans will buy the $130 bundle. You know what else they will do? They will pay thousands of dollars for costumes. They will buy all kinds of Assassin's Creed toys, t-shirts, posters, and all kinds of souvenirs. Why wouldn't Ubisoft capitalize on that and make their own collector's edition? But they also have the base version of the game at $70 for the more casual players like me. Assassin's Creed fans never played AC games for historical accuracy. Assassin's Creed games are historical fantasy.